through the FBI and U.S. attorneys' offices is something that candidates, but all of us, need to pay attention to, because, as Basil was suggesting, this is a turnout election. This is about making sure your people feel energized to actually show up. That's why they're fear-mongering. Yep.
Larry, do you think that there is a race out there right now that people aren't talking quite enough about? I think about North Carolina, for example. Roy Cooper, household name, entity there. I think a lot of Democrats think he's going to pretty easily sail to victory. He's doing very well in the polls right now. But is there any place where you would caution them to not be too comfortable, too optimistic? Or is there another area where they actually may have a shot and the party or the base just aren't really thinking about it right now?
Well, first, let me just make a quick comment on North Carolina. We kept that for a long time at toss-up, even though all of the polls really suggested that Roy Cooper was well ahead. But he was rarely at 50 or over. And if you look at the modern history of North Carolina, the Republicans in federal elections tend to do very, very well for president, Senate, House of Representatives, and even at the state level for the legislature. So we wanted to be convinced that this was real. And we're now convinced that it is. It takes a lot of evidence, at least for us, to move a race. Now, as far as others are concerned, I've had a lot of people say to me, oh, come on, you can't be serious about Alaska. Alaska is not going to go Democratic. Well, normally, of course, it wouldn't go Democratic. And it certainly won't be by a landslide if, in fact, it does go Democratic. But you have in Mary Peltola a candidate who got elected to the U.S. House of Representatives under their unusual system of election from Alaska. She's already been able to do that. And the Republican incumbent does not have Mr. Sullivan. There are two Sullivans on the ballot.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
Yeah, well, one of them has been kind of thrown off, but I think maybe the courts will put him back on. But whatever happens there, the Republican incumbent is clearly worried. If he weren't worried, he wouldn't have put so much time and effort along with the party, national and state, to debunk this other Dan Sullivan. They're worried about every vote, and they should be. They should be, because he doesn't have that strong an image in Alaska. He's not like some of the senators that we used to know, like Mike Gravel and others, who were around for a long time, and Alaskans could tell you a lot about him. They really don't. They really don't know Sullivan all that well, no matter what he says. So I would continue to watch Alaska, continue to watch Iowa, obviously Texas. We haven't moved that away from lean R. We may eventually go to toss up. It's certainly moving in that direction. But we're, as I say, we're a little hesitant to move things until the evidence really accumulates. I like a mountain because I'm older and I can't see well. The younger members of my team are happy with a hill.